Hi group, this is James here for SWK 351, and we're in chapter 12. This is page 211, the example. Chapter 12 is also dealing with t-tests for a comparison of two means, basically, in a sense. Now, in chapter 11, there wasn't a link between the two sets of data. In chapter 12, there is a meaningful link between the two groups that we're going to be using in the example and then in the homework assignments as well. And so the big idea for chapter 12 again is we're going to run a test, a t-test, looking at two groups, but there is um, a link between the first set of data and the second set of data. And the textbook says that they're related groups. And the example on page 211 is a pretest post-test, which is a very classic example for this sort of special t-test. And the big idea here is that the 3 and 7 are from the same individual. The 5 and the 8 are from the same individual. So there's this matching, this link that happens between the two sets of data because this is the same person. This is the same person. So everyone in this group takes a pretest and then they take a post-test. So for this sort of t-test, we have to have the same number of data points in the two groups because it's a matched design for the test. So that's one of those things. If we run this test, we don't have the same number of data values, then we won't even be able to compute the statistic. Okay. Following along in the book here, our null hypothesis is that the means are the same. And that's between the pre-test and the post-test. Again, if I was doing this in a write-up, I would have to be much more clear with the null hypothesis. I can't just say means are equal. And for the research hypothesis, in this case, thinking in terms of a pre-test and a post-test, well, when we're thinking about a lot of instances where we would use a pre-test and a post-test, we want some sort of change to happen. And so go ahead and take 5 seconds and think about what you want the research hypothesis to be. Reminder, this is scores from a reading program. The pre-test is the score on the test before the reading program, and the post-test is after. So this should be our research hypothesis. The post-test mean is greater than the pre-test mean. The whole point in this reading program is to improve student learning as it's measured in this test. So we want the post-test to be larger than the pre-test, okay? We have our null hypothesis and our research hypothesis. We have our data set. And again, as a reminder, we need to make sure to go through and review the data and make sure that's correct. If you look at the bottom of page 211, we see information on the sum and the means. And what I can do here as a nice little check as well, if I wanted to, this little sum formula, if I type in equals SUM open parentheses A2 colon A26 end parentheses and hit enter, that's 158, which matches the sum that we have in the book. that's a nice little check, especially for larger data sets, to be confident that we have the correct, the data is correct. If we wanted to go a step further, we could look at the mean as well. Oh, remember that the mean is this command. It's actually, that's the arithmetic average or mean here. So again, A2 to A26, 6.32 matches what we have in the book. We could do this for the second set of data as well. It's nice to include these because that's an extra layer of confidence that you have the right data in for each of these. And as a reminder for your write-ups, I want you to send me your Excel file or your, send me your Excel file. Make sure that you send me your data as well in digital form. So when you submit your write-ups, I want to have a digital copy of your Excel sheet. If you are using Google Docs or Google Sheets here, you can go to File and, let's see here. Let me change the view. If you're on Google Sheets, you can download as and select this Microsoft Excel. It'll download it to your computer, and then you can send that to me in an email as an attachment. So that is an option if you're using Google Sheets. But for your write-up, I want your actual digital files as well. Okay, back to the pretest post-test for this reading program. We're ready to run the statistic here, and we're going to go right back to our add-ons for Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel. And I'm going to wait for this to load up. Once it loads up, we are going to select this matched pairs design for the t-test. The computation for the statistic was for chapter 11. And so that's why we have two separate chapters here. Okay. Again, we have these two groups, and it's going to be a t-test. Now, it's a paired two sample for means. Our variable 1 range is the data from our first column. I want to make sure that I don't select any additional cells. And then for variable 2 is from column B. Select that. Again, these should match up in terms of the number of cells in each column, and we can see that these are the same cells in column A and column B. And our hypothesized mean difference, that's our null hypothesis, is that the means are exactly the same. I am including the labels in my ranges for variable 1 and variable 2. Again, we are going to keep our alpha of 0.05, and that's consistent with the textbook on page 212. And then our output range, as always, is just a location where we want to put the results. Okay. Now remember, our research hypothesis was that the post-test mean was greater than the pre-test mean. So when we look at our p-value, again, it's compared with this alpha here, but we're looking at the one-tail p-value, not the two-tail. So this is our t-test for this matched pairs design. And here is our t-statistic. Here is our one-tail p-value, and I want you to take 30 seconds and decide how you will respond to the null hypothesis, and then I want you to turn to the person next to you and come to an agreement between the two of you. Are you going to reject the null hypothesis, or are you going to fail to reject the null hypothesis?